Hello and welcome to Movie Night. It's Albert here, and it's that time of year again when it's awards season. And today I'm going to be looking at some of my personal picks for this year's Academy Awards. We've had the Golden Globes already, and indeed the BAFTAs here in Britain. And I'm actually in the position this year where I've actually seen almost all of the films that are up for Best Picture. And quite a few of the other ones that are nominated as well. I have to admit, I've not seen them all. I've still got a couple on my list to see. That some of them have gone out of the cinema now, actually, but I've still got my eye on a couple. But today, I'm going to give you my personal picks for what is, I think, a really, really strong year in terms of awards. The weakest, almost all of the categories are pretty strong. The weakest category is probably the animated feature one, which is strangely one of the strongest categories usually. But Coco really is only much the one that's pretty much certain to win there. There isn't much competition, which I haven't seen actually, but I've heard nothing but good things about. So, I guess I should get straight into it, and I'm going to start first with the Best Supporting Actress award. Now, I should say just before I go into it that I'm going to be basing this on my personal preference more than what I think could get it, although I'll go into that when I discuss them. But for Best Supporting Actress, I think the Oscars should go to Allison Janney for I, Tonya, in her role as Levana Golden, the mother of the protagonist of the film. Now, I saw I, Tonya just this week, actually, in the cinema, and I really, really enjoyed it. Thoroughly recommend it. I think it's a really interesting biographic piece, and it's a lot of fun as well, and raises some really interesting questions. And her role as the sort of this hateful mother character in that film is a real standout. But again, this category is really, really strong with Octavia Spencer in The Shape of Water, again really good, and Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird, really good. But yeah, my choice would be Allison Janney for I, Tonya there. So moving on to the Best Supporting Actor. Now this is really, again, a really, really strong field, with loads of these contenders being really, really, really worthy of it in any other year probably. But my personal choice here has to be Sam Rockwell for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, where he plays Officer Jason Dixon, a sort of racist, kind of not very nice, it's fair to say, police officer in the town. He's absolutely outstanding in this role, and actually Sam Rockwell's a really talented actor. I've seen somewhere that he's meant to be playing George W. Bush in a film that's coming out later this year, which should be good. But he's really fantastic in this film. But shout out certainly to Woody Harrelson, also in Three Billboards, and Richard Jenkins in The Shape of Water. Actually, I think he does a really, really good job. All great contenders, but for me, Sam Rockwell's the winner there. So next, I've got to go to Best Director. Now, the first thing I would want to say for Best Director is that it's a shame that Martin McDonagh missed out for Three Billboards. I think he's certainly worthy of winning that. He won the BAFTA for it. No, actually, he didn't. Sorry, no, that was Guillermo del Toro, because he won it for the adapted screenplay. I apologise. But yeah, it's a shame that he missed out on the nomination here. But again, this is a strong field. My personal choice here, I think, has to be Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water, just because it is such an interesting kind of visionary idea that feels like his kind of child that he developed, and there's such a great sense of style about this film that I really love. And that style doesn't sacrifice the substance of this film. Shape of Water is also a really good, interesting story, and I think Guillermo deserves the plaudits for that. A shame Christopher Nolan will miss out again on Oscar. He's not been nominated before, possibly unjustly, but Guillermo del Toro is certainly my choice there. And he'd probably still be my choice even if Martin McDonagh was nominated. So now on to Best actor. Now, Best Actor, interestingly, is the weaker field, certainly, of Best Actor and Actress. Sometimes it can be the other way around, and it's not a gender thing. It's just that depends which films come out in what year. It's not the strongest of fields, but what I still think is a really good performance, I think, has to be Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour as Winston Churchill. Because although, as previously shared in Movie Night, I don't think The Darkest Hour is a fantastic film, I do think that Gary Oldman is very, very good in it, and he deserves the plaudits for that. I think his main challenger really is Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread, but I've not actually seen Phantom Thread, but I've heard plenty of good things about it, and I do like Daniel Day-Lewis, but I think this year it's got to be Gary Oldman, and it's probably deserved as well. Now on to Best Actress. Now, Best Actress is the strongest category in my opinion of all of these, apart from Best Picture itself. But all of these actresses are deserving of a nomination, and 4 out of 5 of them, I'll say, could definitely easily win on any other day. Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water is fantastic. You have to remember in The Shape of Water that she doesn't utter a word throughout the entire film, and she still manages to create a believable and likeable character out of this, and she's amazing in that. And Margot Robbie in I, Tonya, I think, really deserves a nomination. I'm so sad that I, Tonya wasn't released in another year, because she would definitely deserve to win for that. And even Saoirse Ronan in Lady Bird would possibly deserve it in the other year. Personally, Lady Bird isn't my favourite film of the ones nominated. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I still recognise that her performance in it is very good. Meryl Streep in The Post, yes, it's very good. I mean, possibly because of Meryl Streep's high standard, we kind of judge her against this. I don't think it sets the world alight, but she probably deserves the nomination for it. But my personal choice here has to be Frances McDormand in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, playing Mildred Hayes, the mother of a murdered daughter who's angry and aggrieved. She's a tour de force in this film. You can't imagine it with anybody else. Just the little things that she can do to make a character believable in some scenes they're just fantastic. And I think she's a standout performer who certainly deserves to win Best Actress Oscar for the second time. So now, finally, onto the one you've all been waiting for, the big one, Best Picture. Now, I'm getting tired of saying this, but again, a very strong field for this year. There's some really, really top quality films in there. If I just go through them very quickly. Not seen Call Me By Your Name. I've heard plenty of good things about it. Darkest Hour, I've said before, it's not my favourite film. I don't think it's deserving of Best Picture. I've not seen Dunkirk or Get Out, actually, or Phantom Thread. I'll be completely honest there. But I've heard good things about. I will probably end up seeing Get Out and Phantom Thread at some point. But I think I kind of missed them in the cinema. Lady Bird, as I said, is not my favourite film. I don't know whether it's just I can't really relate to it, but then that's not even it, because I can't relate to The Shape of Water in a sense of the story that occurs. But I feel like with the Lady Bird, that the fact that it was aimed almost at me, it's the same. I'm the same age, I've been through the same experiences as her, and yet somehow I felt alienated by her character. I'm not certain whether it's just sort of a kind of not really identifying with the character or finding her particularly likable, maybe. I still thought it's not a terrible film. It's a decent film, but I don't think it's deserving of Best Picture. The Post, I think, is a forgettable film, really. I mean, the fact that it has Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep in it is kind of propels it forward. But other than that, I would challenge anyone who went to see the film to come out of it thinking and be able to recall the specific amazing scenes, as you can do in the next 2 films on the list, which are The Shape of Water and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. These 2 films are 2 incredible films in my opinion, and I would highly recommend you go see them. I've seen them both twice in the cinema, and I think that they're both kind of timeless, exciting films. And what they both have is they have this real sense of style and memorableness. The power of film is being able to, in my opinion, to be able to recall these scenes that you see and be able to still be thinking about them several days after. Three Billboards is certainly like that, and as is The Shape of Water. And I think either of them could have, in other years, without wishing to say this again, would have won. The Shape of Water, I think, is fantastic. It's so different and so unlike other films that you see, and yet is still grounded and exciting and keeps you involved in the story all the way through and has these believable characters and wonderful scenes in it. But, as you might be able to guess because of my previous voicing about how much I like it, my choice has to be Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. I think it is an amazing film, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it is got some of the most memorable scenes that you'll see this year. I think it's kind of darkly funny at times, intensely moving at other times, and it's just a real master stroke, in my opinion. I can't praise it enough, and I think it thoroughly would deserve the Best Picture Oscar this year, definitely. I think it's also worth mentioning, I've gone through the main ones, I'm not going to go through all the other ones, but I think it's also worth mentioning some interesting points to look out for this year about whether Roger Deakins will win Best Cinematography. This is his 14th nomination and he's never won. Roger Deakins, if those of you who don't know, is responsible for the cinematography on some of the biggest films over the past 20 years or so, probably longer. In fact, definitely longer. I was 20 years is not right, but he's nominated for the Blade Runner 2049, which is a film I really liked, and I hopefully, fingers crossed, he's going to win this time. In Best Editing, you've got Baby Driver up for that, which is a good film I really enjoyed, and that has a good chance of winning. My personal pick, actually, for the Best Editing is I, Tonya. I think it's a film that sort of slipped underneath slightly, and I know Margot Robbie and Alison Janney are nominated, but it's missed out on Best Picture, and I think it is a really interesting, good piece of work. Certainly better than The Post, in my opinion, or Lady Bird, or Darkest Hour even. I think it's a really strong piece of work, and Margot Robbie deserves a lot of credit for what she's done there. It's a really interesting piece of work, and the editing in there would be worthy of an award. In visual effects, Blade Runner 2049 probably should win. I think that was a good film, and it certainly looks amazing. But it does have some strong competition in that category, particularly from the latest Star Wars film, The Last Jedi. Some impressive visual effects that stand out to me in my mind. And lastly, just a quick mention for original song. I have to support This Is Me from The Greatest Showman, which is currently smashing box offices across the country with its latest sing-along version. I love The Greatest Showman. I think it's a really fun, interesting film, and it has some great music in it, so it would be a shame if a song from there didn't win. Although This Is Me isn't actually my favourite song from there, but it would be a shame if a song from The Greatest Showman didn't win. And yeah, people talk about the Oscars as being out of touch with audiences, and I think to overlook The Greatest Showman, which has been a huge success, would be showing that kind of out of touch nature. Although, yes, indeed. So, and just a quick mention before I go. I mentioned all the other award ceremonies that we've had. We had the Golden Raspberries last night for the worst films released last year, and I would probably agree with a lot of the awards that were given. The Emoji Movie kind of swept the board for Best Picture and Worst Picture, I should say, and a variety of other things. And I would probably agree with, by all accounts, not that I've seen it, but yeah, it sounds pretty bad from what I've heard. I think one film that missed out on being nominated for the worst films was a film called The Snowman, which was starred Michael Fassbender, and it was based, and Rebecca Ferguson. It was based on a book by Joe Nesbo, a crime thriller, and it was a very very strange film. Normally I like Michael Fassbender, I think he's very good, but it was a very odd film, and I'm surprised it wasn't nominated for any of the worst categories. It was very nonsensical and confusing, certainly for maybe like a adapted screenplay. I don't know if they have that in the Golden Raspberries, but yeah, Bad film. Bad film indeed. So, thanks for watching. I will certainly be watching the Academy Awards into the early hours this weekend to see what the best of Hollywood reckon. What they reckon is the best of Hollywood in the previous year. Definitely go see three billboards, and definitely go see The Shape of Water if they're still on in your local cinema. I think they're fantastic, and I'm fingers crossed they're going to be doing well in this time. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.